Usually I start this up with well, Alex, it's been a very rough year. But frankly, let's just be honest with people. We're about 4 weeks out into the new year.
Yes.
And this is how late we've been. And so at that point, well, Alex, it's been an interesting last year and 4 weeks. And frankly, now that it's done, it's time for us to go over the best and worst as far as films in 2018. It's had some goods. It's had some bads.
Yeah.
It's time for us to go over them. So without further ado, let's just go ahead and do it. Now, people usually know the formula that we do these from previous years. It's not really changing. We're going to start things off with what we would consider to be the worst movie of 2018, then go into an honorable mention, something that just barely didn't make the list, and then our top 3 of 2018.
Right.
So, Alex, what was your worst movie of 2018?
Well, I've only said it like a dozen times. It's still Jurassic World Fallen Kingdom.
Dino Crisis the movie.
Dino Crisis the movie. Resident Evil 2 with dinosaurs.
Yeah, Resident Evil with dinosaurs. Not 2, 1. 2 was in the police department.
Well,
this
still,
is the mansion.
I still got more 2 vibes than I got 1, but you're right.
yeah. That's why we call it Dino Crisis the movie. And I'm not going to spoil... spoilers, this is my worst as well.
I think that's just because we were still coming off of our two Let's Play, so.
Well, we've already... I can't begin to mention all the stuff that we already mentioned in our review.
Yeah,
it was dumb beyond any conceivable way of redemption.
Yeah.
They like every time they might have done something right, they eventually did 2 or 3 things wrong. And it just got to the point where it was infuriating. Like, I can enjoy Jurassic Park movies just because I know that the dinosaurs are going to eat people.
Yeah.
Right? And I can have fun with that because that's B-movie horror. This time around, things got so stupid that even I was sitting there going, what the hell?
Yeah.
And it just never got better. So that's kind of my viewpoint, and you have the worst as well. Anything that I forgot to mention?
No, I think we've pretty much hammered it in.
But they're like me.
They're like me. Go fuck yourself.
Dumbest line in the movie.
Yeah.
All right, so without further ado, let's get into honorable mentions. Alex, what is your honorable mention?
I got 2 honorable mentions now, actually.
All right.
Now, this first one is called Operation Finale. And this one kind of slipped really in under the radar. It looked like the kind of movie that'd be released in like fall or like December, It felt like kind of like, oh, this will probably be like a fall movie awards contender kind of submission for your consideration. No, it came out like really late in the summer, and I like only saw it like the weekend. I saw like a trailer for it like the weekend it opened.
Okay.
And so the movie's about Israeli agents going to apprehend Adolf Eichmann from Argentina.
Okay.
And take him back to Israel so he can stand trial for his war crimes. And that's pretty much the whole movie. I mean, it's mostly about the team capturing Eichmann, holding him till they can extract him and get him back to Israel, trying not to get busted by Argentina police or the SS or the Nazi sympathizers SS that are hiding out in refuge in Argentina and still trying to find them. And ultimately, not a perfect movie, but really interesting because this is not really a story I knew much about. World War II buff. I wouldn't call myself a real buff, but as somebody who always has had a long interest in World War II history and all the aftermath of that, not a bad movie, really. Ben Kingsley, I think it's Ben Kingsley. Ben Kingsley is, let me double check that. Let's see. Yeah, Ben Kingsley as Eichmann. He's really great in the movie, and Oscar Isaac as the real life Peter Malkin. Fascinating story. So there you go.
All right.
My second honorable mention is Solo, a Star Wars story.
Okay.
Deserved, I think, a little bit better than it got. But of course, it just was too hampered by too much bad press and too much bad timing. And ultimately, it was
a bunch
fine.
of pissed off Star Wars fans.
Yeah, and it was fine. Again, not a perfect movie, but it was fine for what it was, and I enjoyed seeing Han Solo on the big screen.
I will say this: so technically we own Solo, and I've since seen it for a second time, and Where I did enjoy it a lot more the first time around, the second time is when I could start to see those things showing up. And that's when I start to have issues. But that first time, it was more enjoyable than I thought it was going to be, considering I don't like Han Solo.
Yeah.
There you go. All right, my honorable mention is going to be a bit of a shocker, and it's just because of how late in the year it came out. It is Aquaman, because I cannot think of a movie that more pleasantly surprised me than Aquaman. Aquaman turned out to be a lot better film than I was worried the posters were hinting it was going to be. I really thought it was going to be more so you can talk to fish bullshit, and I was not looking forward to that because I knew that the character had a lot more to it, and they pleasantly surprised me. So I originally had another honorable mention in there, but Aquaman just kind of stole it. So there you go. My honorable mention is Aquaman.
What's your other honorable mention?
I
had
try to
two.
think.
You can have two.
It wasn't Solo. Actually, no. My honorable mention was Rampage.
Rampage,
for as hilarious as it was, it's still a crappy plot. Like we even have to acknowledge that.
Oh, I mean,
but
it's based on an arcade game. I mean,
but
what else are you gonna get?
Here's the thing that links them both together is they were both pleasant surprises. It just turned out that Aquaman was more of a pleasant surprise. I knew that they were going to do something stupid with Rampage, all right? I at least knew that, but I had no idea what was coming with Aquaman. So there you go. My other honorable mention would have to be Rampage. Rampage turned out to be a lot better than I thought it was going to be. So we're into it. We're in the top three. Your number 3, Alex.
My number 3 was an anime movie that came out in a very limited showing. Got the Blu-ray of it now, but it is called Haikara-san, Here Comes Miss Modern. Based on a shoujo manga from the 70s, readapted into this new modern anime with all new character art, and it looks beautiful. Love me a good historical piece. I like romantic anime overall. Great performances. I've only seen it in... No, wait. I saw it in English, I think. I cannot remember what language I saw it in now. Damn it. I can't remember if I saw it subtitled or dubbed now in the theaters. I got the Blu-ray. I just have to watch them both, I guess.
Okay.
But great performances as far as I recall. And just sweet movie. Looking forward to the second part. And I still think this is a good movie that you and Andrea should watch for a date night, because I think you two would just enjoy the tenderness.
What be this date night you speak of? That's kind of where we're at right now. Maybe we can consider it later, but date night isn't really something we're doing.
Just gotta ask. You just gotta ask my parents. Watch the kids for you.
You could always volunteer.
The heck do I know that we're kids?
You can change a diaper. You can take care of kids. I've learned this in my time being a parent. So my number 3 is actually more of a pleasant surprise to me, considering that the reason it earned the number 3 spot was I have seen it twice. Originally, I wasn't entirely on board with it, and I wanted to give another title, but Deadpool 2, in my opinion, and I know this is going to piss off a lot of people because people love that first movie. In my opinion, Deadpool 2 is funnier than Deadpool 1.
I'm probably there with you.
And the reason that I think it's a lot more funny is because of all the 80s jokes. All right? Deadpool 1 has its own unique charm, but when I think Deadpool in my mind, the first thing that comes to my mind now is the whole Deadpool trying to get Colossus out of the mansion moment.
Yeah.
With the app that's supposed to look like a boombox. That's the first thing that comes to my mind. And then a dozen other jokes from Deadpool do follow, like the baby legs with a ginormous dick. All that stuff follows. So I've got to give my credit over to Deadpool 2, but I'm also going to say that number 3 is a bit of a tie, because as much as I love the references that came out of Deadpool 2, and it is absolutely hilarious, Ready Player One was, for the fact that it was a reference fest, it had a lot of really good moments. A lot of really good heartfelt moments. So at that point, you have the funny with Deadpool 2, and you have the heartfelt with Ready Player One.
Right.
So there you go. My number 3 is a tie. Number 2.
Let me think. There's so many movies in 2018. I'm trying to think of them all. I'm going to tie my number 2 here. And one is Black Panther.
All right.
I still like me some good Marvel movies, and Black Panther, again, another really interesting take on a hero that I had no idea about until the movie came out, because I don't read comics.
Even I didn't know a whole lot.
So all right, and it's really great, and I mentioned this in the Aquaman review, where it's like, okay, we got T'Challa's origin essentially in Civil War, and in this case, rather than just see T'Challa's origin redux here, the filmmakers have at least a bit more confidence that you're probably going to have seen it. Even then, I don't think you'll be lost, but you get the origin about kind of the villain for Killmonger, and you definitely get to see a whole lot more of Wakanda now, and you understand what kind of society it's in.
Yeah, like I said in the Aquaman review, the origin story here was not necessarily of T'Challa, it was the origin of Killmonger and Wakanda. To be able to showcase to people the origins of Wakanda and why it's shrouded in secrecy and why it shields itself from the world, and then also showing Killmonger and the philosophy that Killmonger got from his dad, kind of thing, and what happens when you bring that philosophy to Wakanda itself. So yeah, it was an interesting take because you already had T'Challa's origin.
Yeah.
So now you could tell the origin of a city. You could tell the origin of your villain.
Yeah.
And it worked better.
That said, though, I'm probably in the camp that says, yeah, I wouldn't call it really a Best Picture worthy nominee. It's a great movie.
I would, just because I have no other pony in the race.
I mean, I don't particularly either, but I don't think it's either. I don't even think it's Best Picture.
Well, but again, like, am I going to watch the Oscars?
No.
Probably not. So
and for anybody wondering, I don't even think Infinity War is Best Picture worthy. I know a lot of people were hoping for.
There's
Infinity
a reason that
War.
Black Panther got the nomination and not Infinity War.
So I liked Black Panther. I don't think it's particularly Best Picture worthy. And
all right.
So my other one was a Netflix documentary that came out like not too long ago. And this one was about the Fire Festival and all the freaking chaos that went around that one. So, which is funny because Hulu made one and they came out the same exact time, but I've never seen the Hulu one.
Okay.
But the Netflix documentary was really interesting. I followed a little bit of the Fire Festival news when basically the whole thing collapsed on itself, and you were hearing the stories of people stuck on an island for hours, in an airport for hours, having to sleep in refugee hurricane tents, getting a cheese sandwich when they probably paid like a few grand to come on this trip to the Bahamas.
Yeah.
And it's really fascinating too, because it really goes into, not only does it go into why the whole thing collapsed in on itself, because clearly the moron in charge of it is a total fraud and now he's in prison for it.
Okay.
But it also really kind of goes to show you the sad economic impact it had on the locals on the island that they were going to host it in, because a lot of those locals got screwed out of a lot of money because they just basically kind of worked on the promise that this is going to be big and we're going to have all these people come here and spend all this money, and so many of them just
kind of like another thing I can think of. Defy media.
Defy media. Okay. No need to cough. Do I need to give you a cough drop? I'm joking.
I already have way too many of those. Okay.
Yeah, fascinating documentary. I know. I can see some people kind of like, what do I really need to see how a bunch of rich kids got screwed out of money? But it wasn't just rich kids. It was also locals who were hoping for some nice tourism money and got totally screwed by a complete con artist.
All right. My number 2 is very predictable. It is Black Panther.
Black Panther.
And it's just because, like, one of the things I've really loved about the Marvel Cinematic Universe movies that we've been getting since Doctor Strange is unique ways to tell the origin that isn't the same formula applied.
Although Doctor Strange is just Iron Man 2. Iron Man 2.0, I should say, not 2.
Doctor Strange?
Yeah.
I was going to say, like, Iron Man 2's plot was way better than was way worse than Doctor Strange. What are you talking about? I'm an Iron Man fan, and even I'll admit, like, Iron Man 2 and 3?
Yeah. I meant Iron Man. Doctor Strange is Iron Man 2.0.
Yeah, it's the Iron Man Formula 2.0. And I like that. I like the fact that they went outside of what was the norm I mean, technically, you can make the argument that Guardians of the Galaxy did that too, but Doctor Strange was the first time in a while that a singular hero had gotten a different kind of origin story. So I was very happy about that, and Black Panther did that too, and actually added in a bunch of lore that I didn't know about the character, as well as Wakanda, as well as the other tribes that I was more than welcome enough to learn. And contrary to a lot of people, especially now that this is going to be at the Oscars, Oscars so white. The funniest thing that I took out of the movie that I don't hear a lot of reviewers saying is like, race was the last thing that mattered in this movie. It really was, because T'Challa was welcoming to all, even the whether they be the formal tribes or whether it be outsiders.
Right.
Like, he fulfilled the character that I know, which is the one that wants to actually get to know the outside world and knows that we must live in harmony. Hence why one of the big things I love with Black Panther is the Easter egg when he opens up the Wakandan embassy. And I'm like, oh my shit, this is the thing I love about T'Challa. He's not willing to share all the tech, but he's willing to at least try to solve some problems. And he at least took some of the things that Killmonger said to him to heart.
Yeah.
So I do like the fact that it's a learning hero. Plus, a lot of crap was done right in that movie.
Yeah, and just making the villain, Killmonger, the villain, as interesting as he was. I think Marvel's kind of got, a lot of times their villains are just kind of flavors of the week. They're just not that interesting.
Well,
and don't
the problem is the comic villains are, like how many times can you tell like this superhero, this supervillain is a thief? How many ways can you tell that?
Yeah, I mean that's kind of the problem. I think that's kind of the problem Marvel has. It's like their rogues gallery is always just kind of meh.
There are unique ones that stand out, to be sure, but the problem is that when you look at, say, Whiplash for Iron Man, what makes him different from the Leaping Laser?
Yeah,
not a whole lot.
Exactly, and and this is something a lot of critics kind of also pointed out was like, yeah, Killmonger is probably like the first real interesting villain of the MCU.
Yeah. I mean, I still think Thanos did a lot that I didn't expect, so I'll give them that. But given where because I actually did my homework after the Black Panther movie, and what they did with the comics version of Killmonger versus the movie one is actually a lot more enticing to me.
Well, I mean, mind you, it's pre-Thanos is when people were kind of really
true.
When people had a lot of the praise for Killmonger as really being a more dynamic and interesting villain.
And if one complaint can be made of Doctor Strange and the fact that it changed the hero's origin, its villain was very much leaving something to be desired.
Its villain was generic Sky Portal villain. As Andre the Black Nerd always points out. Sky Portal.
You have Dormammu, but you also had the monk, and the monk was very uninteresting. I can't remember his name off the top of my head. That's how uninteresting he was. Dormammu was interesting because, yes, Sky Portal. I don't care as much about the Sky Portal as everybody else does. But the fact that they actually kind of went to a different direction with him. Like, Dormammu, I've only ever known him as Giant Fire Demon. And instead, this one, they went, Giant Cosmic Demon. Oh, okay.
Oh, yeah, that's much different.
It doesn't make sense when I'm explaining it, but it is different. Like, Dormammu with rainbows. Okay, that's weird.
I think I would agree with you, but I think the only thing anybody really remembers out of Dormammu is "I've come to bargain."
Yeah, that's what people remember.
Is the loop. That's about it as far as Dormammu goes.
Yeah, like if you were to compare movie Dormammu and comic Dormammu, there would be a huge difference.
All right.
Comic Dormammu is in my opinion, has better moments than Mephisto, and Mephisto's the literal devil of Marvel. So yeah. So yeah, that's my number 2, Black Panther. So it's time. Number 1. What is the number 1 movie of 2018 for you?
It is Deadpool 2.
All right.
I think I have to agree with you. It is, I think, a little bit funnier than the first movie.
It is.
And I'm not sure if that's my sentiment, that's always been my sentiment, or if it's changed.
I still hold the same sentiment that it's like Guardians, where Guardians 1 and Guardians 2 have their different feels.
Yeah.
Deadpool 1 and 2 have their different feels.
Yeah, I have to agree. And I really liked it. I really had fun with Deadpool 2. It's always fun to have a tongue-in-cheek play on superhero and its tropes.
Yes, and tons of amazing jokes came out of Deadpool 2 that I could laugh at. Like, Deadpool 1 had some good ones too, but they were kind of fewer and far between, and a lot of them were near the end.
Yeah.
My number 1, is not going to be a shocker from people who watched our Geek News podcast because nothing has changed. My number one movie of 2018 is Incredibles 2.
Incredibles 2.
Incredibles 2.
Incredible Boogaloo.
What's funny is like, since we've been doing these recordings, I've been doing a lot of movie nights with Andrea to get her caught up. And we both just kind of, like, we both loved Deadpool 2. Okay, don't get me wrong. We both loved Black Panther, but when we watched Incredibles 2 together, we both just kind of looked at it and went, this is an amazing movie.
Yeah,
you know, this is really well done.
I agreed. I loved Incredibles 2 as well.
I love and again, this is just like Guardians, where Incredibles 1 and Incredibles 2 have different feels to them. And the cool part about that is, with Incredibles 1, everything is centered around Mr. Incredible. When it comes to the hero plot in Incredibles 2, it is centered around Elastigirl, and it makes sense with the stuff that she was doing in the first movie, where she's more subtle, she's more stealthy, and ergo, her villain was more subtle and stealthy, more manipulative, whereas Syndrome for Mr. Incredible was just a basic revenge plot kind of thing, and it made sense. But I have to say, like, one of the things that made this for me, and is not surprising to anybody, is I love the role reversal. I love Mr. Incredible being a stay-at-home dad. That was the best thing to be able to do it, especially when you consider the character you're dealing with. He is your average butch machismo guy.
Yeah.
It does not make sense for him, especially since this movie is conceivably supposed to be like in the 60s and 70s. It is not conceivable for him to be the stay-at-home dad. He is not who you picture. And yet, he worked at it.
Yeah.
And I'm not just saying this just because I'm a stay-at-home dad too, and I've had to overcome these struggles as well, but it was cool to be able to see him do it. You know, like he spends the first day completely frustrated. He can't make his daughter happy. He can't make Dash happy. He can't understand Jack, and he slowly just starts to change over time and become that parent. He literally does an all-nighter looking through Dash's math book and figures out how to do things. That's what you have to do, and it's amazing to see this butch machismo dude do it.
Yeah.
And it's also awesome to be able, like, because we've had these moments where the butch machismo dude is totally floored, not by supervillains, but by his youngest son. All right? There's been many a time where my toddler has literally driven me to the point of exhaustion. And I'm talking exhaustion to the point where you lose sleep for days. All right? So that was amazing to be able to go see. One of my favorite moments out of that movie is the Edna Jack plot that we got out of it. You know, like, we got to see the whole Volt reveal with Edna in the first movie, and then she basically recalibrated it all for Jack. That was amazing for me.
Yeah, absolutely. Terrific movie.
It was an amazing movie, and the villain was perfect, and it just made me excited for an Incredibles 3, which will probably never happen. But I kind of want that now, and
or it'll be 20 years.
It'll be another 20 years, and then I'll get it, and then I'll be disappointed because it will not have lived up to the legacy because Brad Bird didn't do it. But yeah, no, the plots that they tried, the reversals that they tried to do with it just worked, and it was actually, like, contrary to a lot, like with a superhero movie where it's fun to see the superheroes win kind of thing. The funnest parts of this movie was seeing Bob fail. Don't argue with me on that. Some of the funny, like seeing him argue with Dash over homework and then taking them out to the family restaurant only to have Violet just snort milk or snort water. Like, those were hilarious because then at that point when he learned from it, it was all the more meaningful that he learned. So there you go. I'm off my soapbox, but yeah, my number one is The Incredibles 2.
Incredibles 2, terrific film.
Yes.
Absolutely. You know what? I'll just say ties for my number one with Deadpool 2.
Oh my gosh. Like that movie was well worth the I want to say the 14-year wait that we got. Like, I think it was a 2004 movie.
Yeah, 2004.
And it was 2018. So much like Kingdom Hearts 3, well worth the 14-year wait.
Yes.
And that does it for this video. So thank you guys so much for watching. 2019's first review, we'll get to it eventually. We've kind of worked out the movies that we want to be able to go see, but we're just going to warn you guys in advance. The list is probably going to be a little bit shorter just because, A, I have kids and I need to be able to take care of those kids. And also the other thing is
Tickets are expensive.
Tickets went up, and it sucks because I want to be able to do so much more, but unfortunately, we only have so much money to work with. So if the list seems a little shorter, part of that is because of these circumstances. The other thing too is that with some of these movies, we actually don't do them alone. We do them as a Geek News group review, and I try to put those in the playlist as much as I can. But for example, I know a few of you guys are excited for Alex's opinion on Alita Battle Angel. Guess what? It's not a Drak and Shadow vlog. It's a Geek News
vlog. Yeah.
So we'll make sure to put that in there, but that's where you can find it. So we hope you guys are willing to deal with that. And then thank you guys again. If you guys want a 2019 review, I'll also point you guys towards Stephen Romney's channel where him and myself went and reviewed Dragon Ball Super Broly. So you guys can see that. And it's not negative like the Ghostbusters review. It's actually fairly positive. So you guys can look forward to that. And that'll do it for us. So thank you guys so much for watching again. And we'll see you guys for the next vlog.
See you guys next time.
Better ending. Yeah.